Hi, hearties! Welcome back to the Teacup Trail. We are on episode 8 of season 8. I apologize so much. I know I have been MIA on the Teacup Trail. A lot of things are going on. I haven't really told you guys the whole story, but the past 10 months of this year were not the greatest for me and my family. Some of you know that my grandmother died earlier this summer, and she was in Indonesia, and with COVID and the stupid quarantine rules and all those craziness, I couldn't really be there with her in the last days of her life. That happened, and then afterward, my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and he did a surgery earlier this month, and everything went well, and now it's just a recovery period for him for the next 6 weeks. So, yeah, a lot of things are happening for the family, and sometimes people say I cannot wait for the new year, and just like new beginning, fresh start, and all that. I'm one of those people because this year was worse than last year for myself and my family. So yeah, but we still doing good. God is still good. He's still a good God, and yeah, and I'm just grateful at the end of all of this. But yeah, that's my honest truth, I guess. Plus the holidays and church activities and working at home 5 days a week. So it's a busy life, but I'm so happy to be back on here and talk about episode 8 of season 8. But before I dive in, I need to let this all out. So I haven't been on social media for the longest ever in my entire life, and I am actually part of that Facebook group of Lucas and Elizabeth, and I checked on it last night on Friday night, and I was like, I miss a lot. And so we're getting a new little Jack, and he is so adorable. I don't want to say this, but I'm really good with little kids, and when the kid is really adorable like that, I'm just I melt, and she's so cute. But I'm going to miss the Taylor twins. It's really nice when you be able to see a child actor, grow over the season, over the course of the show. And it's really sad that they left the show and they had to bring in another child actor to play little Jack. But I mean, I guess it's not completely bad because the new little Jack is equally cute too. We got a sneak peek of a hot air balloon. And I'm just so much things are happening, and it's not even 2022 yet. Oh wow. But yeah, there was just some enjoyable content that I missed, and yeah, really nice to catch up on social media. We should get started on episode 8.
I'd like to discuss what happened the other day.
At the adoption ceremony.
Yes, at the adoption ceremony. Concerned about Allie.
I didn't know that you were going to be the only one invited. And may I add that I was probably just as uncomfortable as you were.
Elizabeth didn't really believe the fact that Nathan did not know Allie's plan behind all of this. She's like, yeah, right. She didn't even tell you because she knows that Nathan and Allie are very close to one another, and they talk about Elizabeth and, the love triangle, and Elizabeth as Allie's teacher. So Elizabeth didn't really believe Nathan, that Nathan did not know anything about this genius plan that Allie put out.
Allie didn't discuss with you who she'd be inviting?
As a matter of fact, she did. And of all the names I saw on the list, yours wasn't one of them.
Well, now you're just being hurtful.
Elizabeth, if that's what you think of me, you don't even know me.
On the other hand, like, Nathan, he was a bit rude to her, geez, like, seriously, you're not taking it seriously. And Elizabeth felt like, Nathan and I taking it seriously. We need to get on the right page here, and I don't want your niece to continue to put me and you together as a couple when I already told you, no, like, I don't want to date you. Like, your niece needs to respect that and understand that.
Nathan, we're talking about Allie.
Well, we're gonna have to wait to discuss it. There's been an escape at Granville Penitentiary. The prisoner's been spotted nearby.
Constable Grant,
Save it.
And the timing of it, it's just like not the greatest, because Nathan had to leave to go to his job, and Lucas is watching this whole thing unfold. Lucas greeted him, and I don't think Lucas greeted him like in an annoying way. I don't think he meant it that way, but Nathan took it like that, and he said, "Save it," and Lucas just like, okay, you want to like talk to me like that?
yes?
May I come in?
Of course. Yes. Welcome.
Wow, this is such a nice office.
I think one thing that really caught my attention, the way he greeted her, like, of course, yes, come in, and so welcoming, and he was excited to show his office to her.
Thank you.
I haven't had a chance to tell you. I want to tell you that I was the only one invited to Allie's adoption ceremony.
And Elizabeth seemed a bit nervous to tell Lucas about what happened at the adoption ceremony, but I'm really happy she did, because they are a couple and they went on a few days. Honesty and open communication are very important in a relationship, so she was definitely doing that in this moment. And the first reaction of Lucas finding out about what happened at the adoption ceremony, that looked just like the quick 2 seconds before the phone rang, he's just like, what? Like, you were the only one.
Excuse me. Hello. Thank you, Florence. Bonjour, Paul. Comment ça va?
Elizabeth gave some space to Lucas so he can talk over the phone, and I think she was impressed that she'd be able to hear Lucas speak in French.
Quoi? Pourquoi? Un autre acheteur? Paul, ce n'est pas du tout ce que nous avons convenu.
And you see Elizabeth glance over quickly to Lucas, noticing the increase in the tone of his voice, like something is going on within that phone call.
Pardon my French. That was an art dealer in New York. I'm trying to buy an anniversary gift for my parents.
I understand.
Florence, would you mind calling that number back, please?
And Lucas apologized for speaking in French, and I thought that was very sweet, very thoughtful. Like, he didn't really have to apologize, but I think he just like probably thinking that it surprised Elizabeth, and probably something unexpected. Lucas mentioned about anniversary gift for his parents, and that you can tell that Lucas' parents are on a good path in their marriage. And that's like a little update to the audience, like, oh, hey, Lucas' parents are good now and they're still together.
Elizabeth, would you care to join me for dinner tonight?
I would like to continue this conversation, but I'd like to be able to give you my full attention.
Of course.
Thank you.
Again, Elizabeth was respectful of the situation, and she agreed to a dinner and just let him be and allow him to continue the phone call.
À tout à l'heure.
I forgot what it meant. If anyone knows French, let me know. But it definitely surprised Lucas and very impressive.
Things were starting to get a bit heated between us. I still feel like there's something he's not telling me.
And I'm trying to remember, like, the last time they talked about foreplay and how that ended, and yeah, like Nathan told her like he never knew Jack, but it's just like the look that Nathan gave to Elizabeth after that moment when Nathan came over to her on his horseback, and he's like, no, and like I never knew your husband, but it was just something from his facial expression is telling Elizabeth that there's more to it.
Elizabeth, this isn't your doing.
It just breaks my heart to see Allie like this.
Nathan just needs to explain to her.
I'm not so sure it's a matter of a simple explanation. I was worried this might happen if he and I tried to be friends.
Lucas, like, this is like not your battle, like this is not your problem, like you're just a teacher to her, like you can't do anything. It's Nathan. Nathan is the guardian, Nathan is the parent, and Nathan the only one that can straighten Allie out and give her the explanation and discipline to just let her go, and that her teacher is not going out with her uncle. Like, she needs to accept it.
I can accept a friendship between you and Nathan, but I don't think he'll ever settle for only your friendship.
I'd prefer it if we could discuss this at dinner. Right now, I'd like to try to comfort a sad little girl.
I think that's a very brutal honesty coming from Lucas, and I think it's great he said it because Elizabeth can, know where Lucas stands on this situation, and Lucas is a guy, so he knows a guy mind, so he kind of like slipped out some wisdom to Elizabeth on how a guy thinks. She asked Lucas if he can give her the space to talk to Allie, and Lucas respected that, and even though he gave her advice that is opposite of what she's doing, he still respected her as who she is and how loving and caring of a woman that she is, and that she wanted to talk to Allie, and Lucas gave her the space and the respect to do that. I feel bad for Lucas too. Like, if I was Lucas, I would be like, I have this girl, right? But it's just like, there's so many people involved in our relationship holding us back from focusing on our relationship, and you don't want to be rude to Allie and Nathan, like you don't want to like start a fight or anything, but at the same time you want to protect your relationship with Elizabeth and know for sure that Elizabeth is yours and that Lucas is hers.
I knew last year that Carson was worried, but Henry told me it was nothing to be concerned about.
How's Christopher?
Carson and Faith explained to him what happened and what needs to be done.
Elizabeth went to Lucas' office to check up on him, and it's really interesting how Elizabeth just walked in, casually sat on one of the chairs, and just like continued the conversation with Lucas. For me, it's like she's so comfortable to just walk in and sit down on one of his office chairs and accompany him.
Do you still want to have dinner?
For once, if you'll excuse me.
He was just overwhelmed in that moment, and he asked Elizabeth if it's okay, to not have dinner, and she understood, and she's like, don't worry about it.
Do you care to join me? I could stay and we could talk for a while.
That sounds nice.
And then she tapped her hand on the chair, the seat next to her. And she tapped, yeah, a few times. And Lucas just like looked over, to what she was doing. And she offered, she offered, like she opened that door, that opportunity. And Lucas just like accepted it. And instead of dinner, just talk it out about what happened that day. And she still didn't want to leave him. I guess it's just a way of her to spend more time with him and just to make sure that he's okay.
Cozy.
You can see that her hands were held together, and Lucas sat down and she made some room for him to on the love seat chair. And she said it's cozy, and here we go again, the intimacy, the eye staring. She made another first move again, so she offered the seat next to her, right? That's like her invitation. And then she did another invitation by having her hand go over his hand and held his hand together. His hand did not touch her wedding ring, and I think it's a way of him respecting Jack. But on the other hand, that ring is like, it's not from Lucas, so it's just like, I'm not touching that, not in a rude way, but in a respectful way.
I think it's very kind of you to sit here with me. But I think perhaps you should go. I want to be patient. I want for you to be completely comfortable.
Basically, like, reminded Elizabeth about the goals in the relationship, which is one of them is patient and to take it easy and just to do certain things at the right timing. And he even thanked her for coming over, but on the other hand, more than that, he's like, I still want to be patient with you. And he didn't want her to feel rushed. He didn't want her to do something that will make her regret. He appreciated. I'm pretty sure he was happy that he held his hand, but I think more than that, he wanted her to be 100% sure and 100% comfortable in doing extreme physical things with one another, which I mean like kissing and all that. They had many intimate moments where they just look at each other, right? Like, especially at that picnic, the rain, like they almost kiss. And this moment, like, it could have been another attempt of kissing each other, but that didn't happen. And I think Lucas stopped her just in time, just to let her know that he is still on that same page with her, that he's willing to be patient, and that holding hands, like, if you want to hold my hand, I'm cool with it, but I just don't want you to feel forced or pressured in doing some things that you're not ready to.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for coming.
At first, you're probably like, okay, did she like it? Did she not like it? You have to keep in mind, a lot of times she had her hand hit, which I'm pretty sure it was Jack before he died. So Lucas, not Jack, who is not Jack, kissing her hand. Yeah, it was a moment of shock, surprise, the adrenaline feeling, like, not I mean, it's not something 100% new to her. Like, she had Jack kiss her hand before, but I think it's just the reality that, you know, Lucas is becoming your man. Like, there's no more Jack, you know, and you cannot have Jack back, unfortunately. He died, and Lucas is right in front of you, and I think in that moment she realized, like, you know, things are getting serious, and Lucas is my boyfriend, and it's potentially a man that I want to spend the rest of my life with. So I don't think she was rejecting that kiss on her hand. I think it was more of a surprise, a good shock, and accepting the reality that Lucas is your boyfriend. And that, you know, there will be some things where you have your first with him, like the first kiss on a hand, the first holding hand in public, the first kiss. Even though she went through that with Jack, it's still like a first time of everything with Lucas, you know, and she also realizing this is not Jack anymore, this is Lucas, and part of her, she needs to move on completely from Jack, and especially that ring is still on her finger. So Lucas wants to make sure that she 100% opened her heart to Lucas, and that she completely moved on from Jack and from her past with Jack, and over with Nathan too, and Allie's situation.